So in this video, we're going to talk a little Peardeck and just some strategies to go from an Inspire Flipchart to a Peardeck. So I'm actually on the Peardeck website, which is peardeck.com, and it integrates with Google Apps. So if you click on the login button, you'll be prompted to sign into Peardeck with your Google account, which is great because then you do not have to create a whole nother account. So I would click Teacher Sign In. And then my browser is going to recognize that I'm signed into a couple Google accounts, and I would want to make sure that I go into Peardeck with my school Google account. And from here, I can create a new lesson by clicking on the Create a New Deck button. I'm going to pause here for a second, and I'm going to go over to this tab, which is my Google Drive, to let you know that when you create decks, which deck is the word to describe a lesson in Peardeck, then they are automatically stored in your Google account. The first one that you create will result in a folder being created in your drive. So I'm in my drive right now, and I'm going to click on this little triangle right here to expand my drive so you can see the folders that are in my drive. I'm going to scroll down to the P's for Peardeck, and you're going to notice if I go all the way down there, there is a folder called Peardeck. It has a space in between it. If I click on that, then you're going to see some subfolders over here. If I click on the Decks folder, you're going to see that I have some Peardecks. If I double clicked on those, it would be like launching that lesson. So that's kind of an important concept to know where your decks are stored. So back to Peardeck. I'm going to go about this kind of in the same way that I did moving an Inspire Flipchart to Google Slides. You might have to go back and watch this part of the video, but I exported every page in my Inspire Flipchart as an image. And I made a folder on my desktop. I'm opening this window right here, which represents the folder. And I exported each of the slides as an image. Again, if you need to see how to do that again, you're going to want to go to my video that shows you how to go from Active Inspire Flipcharts to Google Slides, and just watch the very first part of it, because these are images that I'm going to place in my Peardeck. So I would click on Create a New Deck, and I'm going to give it a name momentarily. I think I call this the Sign Maker's Assistant. So I could click up here to title it. Much easier to search for in Google if you use grammatically correct words and you have spaces between your words. Each of those words becomes a search term. All right, so for a very basic first slide or in the deck, I'm going to click on the plus sign. And if you have the premium version, you're going to have all these different options for interactive elements that you can add to any given slide, which you can explore later. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this particular video, but I'm just going to go and add a new non-interactive slide. When I do that, you can add an image. So I'm going to click on the Add an Image option, and then you can drag and drop a file. In this case, it's an image file from the exported pages from the Flipchart. So I'm going to drag and drop that in here. That image gets inserted, and that now becomes a part of my lesson in Peardeck. Now, if I wanted to ask students, like for example, in this slide, it says, what do all the words have in common? I know that the text got chunked off there, but that's because I didn't create the Flipchart originally and didn't have the same fonts on my computer. I could have fixed that in Active Inspire. But if I wanted that to be a interactive slide where the students have to answer that question in a text box, I could go to this pull-down menu here, and I could remove this slide. And instead of it being a non-interactive slide, I can click on the plus sign and ask the students to write text. And then I get the same options here, and I can add an image. I'm going to go back there, drag that slide in. So when I present this to students, they are going to see a text box that they are able to write in. So this is what they would see on the screen or the board, and this is what they would see on their device. And if you wanted to, you could actually type in the question here, and that would appear on the student device as well. So I could type in, what do all the words have in common? And you can see that my student preview changes. So again, this is what's on the student device. This is what is on the big screen. And you have the ability here in this question type to change it with to be something that the students would answer with a short response or a longer response. So that's the basic idea, and this will save automatically, and you will find these stored in your Google Drive, and you can share them with other teachers.